This is Ray Dosky, Patton Cook, Devlin McKenzie, our terrific producer, live from the Strike and Spare Family Fun Center studios. Ray, it is good to be back in these fine walls of the Strike and Spare Family Fun Center studios. Thank you for holding it down last week, but my goodness, I was itching to be back here.
Dude, I'm so happy you're back. I hope you had a great time. How was Orlando?
Orlando was awesome. I still have some money in my bank account after coming
really?
back, so believe it or not, I'm up right now.
That's a win.
It is a win, but a good time. Weather actually was cooler there than it was here, so that just kind of puts in perspective the absolute heat wave that we've got going in Nashville currently. But hopefully we'll get some temperatures down. But yeah, it was a good time. Had an enjoyable time. But as anything, vacation comes to an end, and we're back grinding away here. But wouldn't rather be anywhere than here.
Well, I'm so happy to have you back in the studios. Devlin and I, we tried to do what we could, kind of hold down the fort until you came back, and so. We had a fun show. I thought for sure you were going to call in last week, but I'm like, you know what? He's in Orlando. He's probably at the new Star Wars little theme park area or something. You've come back with a little tan, though. I see that.
Little tan. I won't show you the sunburn I have on my feet, but we can move past that. I was out in the sun for maybe 15, 20 minutes, and I just got absolutely scorched, as you would expect in the Florida sun. But, yeah, got a little tan, not a ton of sunburn, but something that is maybe a little sunburn right now. Deshaun Watson got a situation going on right now in the NFL. Of course, this has kind of been going on for about a year and a half now, and we're finally maybe starting to get some closure on the situation. He has settled with the majority of the kind of lawsuits that he has got right now. So that's kind of starting to go away. Now it's all time to figure out kind of what the suspension is going to be. And Ray, one thing the NFL has done is they pretty much stepped back and said, we're going to let the kind of legal process and the process via the lawsuits, all that sort of stuff, to kind of settle down. And after that, we will make our decision on what we decide to do with Deshaun Watson. And a hearing this Tuesday with the NFL, and that committee will get together and decide the ultimate fate of Deshaun Watson. Rumor is a year-long suspension. Mm-hmm. Do you have any problem with the year-long suspension, or just what are your general thoughts on this absolute marathon of a scandal that has been Deshaun Watson?
So we've seen this scandal going back to last year, and you never know when these reports come out. You know, if it's a one-off or two-off, what have you, you're thinking, oh, there might be a money grab, or there's nothing there to it. But when you're talking about 24 cases coming your way, when there's smoke, there's fire. There's something there. Now, he's come out many times saying that he is not guilty of any of the charges. But yet, this is the crazy part. He's like, he settled with 20 to 24 ladies that filed charges against him. Yep. So there has to be some truth in the fact of what happened in this space. In terms of the year suspension, it was several weeks leading up to this coming week of like it was going to be either a 6-game, 8-game, whatever. Now they're pushing for a year suspension. I'm okay with that, because if you look at like how players, when the saga happened with Ben Roethlisberger, he was suspended for 6 games?
Yeah.
Right? But yet, if you go play on the field and you step on someone's helmet, you're suspended for like 4 games. And if Deshaun got anything less than 6 games, I'd have been like, okay, this whole rules in the NFL is upside down. Like, none of it makes sense. So a year suspension does make sense. Yes, he offered him $1 million. I think the Browns knew this was coming, and here we are.
And I think you look at it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland kind of got in the ear of Deshaun and said, all right, let's just go ahead. I know you want to fight your innocence in the media and kind of not want to admit anything, but it was only getting worse. After each day went on, you had another victim come out and claim something via a lawsuit. Now, none of this turned into a criminal investigation. That ended up getting dropped a couple months ago. That doesn't necessarily mean that Deshaun is innocent by any means. It just said that there wasn't enough evidence to pursue legal action via the criminal court, but lawsuits have come forward, and you mentioned the 20 out of the 24 women being settled in it. And we've kind of heard everything in the media that those other 4 women are going to end up getting settlements as well. So it's not just wait a little bit further on that. Those have kind of come a little more recent than the previous 20. But for Deshaun Watson, he's looking at a year-long suspension, and I don't think he can have – I agree with you. I don't think he can really have any disagreements with this necessarily. I'm not sure he has played this the best, this situation at all. I'm not sure what more he could have done in some aspects, but you'd really just look at the Cleveland Browns, and they're going to pay this guy, Deshaun Watson, a fully guaranteed contract. I believe I can't remember the exact number that they're going to pay him this year.
A lot of money. It's just a lot of money.
It is. We'll just call it a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you look at it, Deshaun Watson or Jacoby Brissett or Baker Mayfield is likely going to be your starting quarterback, and that's a whole other can of worms in Baker Mayfield, who has not been in any of the practices so far for the Cleveland Browns. They have excused him from that, and the trade market hasn't really fired up at all on the Baker Mayfield front. But for Deshaun Watson, a year-long suspension, I don't think you can really have any disagreements with that.
No, not at all. And I think there was a rumor that came out that if he does get suspended for the entire year, that the next quarterback up is Jacoby Brissett. I think Baker Mayfield's time is pretty much over. And I don't think that the other NFL teams are willing to bail out the Browns out of this little situation they put themselves in with signing these two big quarterbacks.
Yeah, because they set a market that not a lot of NFL teams wanted. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, none of them have a fully guaranteed contract like Deshaun Watson does. And they gave him that contract with this over the head. But then again, that's the only way they're ever going to get Deshaun Watson. Cleveland was never a destination until they put forward that contract.
Absolutely. So I think that the teams, basically like the Seattle Seahawks, the Carolina Panthers, you throw the Pittsburgh Steelers in that equation. They're waiting for him to be released because they don't want to be on the hook for whatever the 18 months. If they say that, okay, you know what, you guys can take care of half of the salary. Okay, fine. Carolina was willing to do that, and they said that you could take care of this, probably half of the salary, because we also are committed to Sam Darnold here, who's got a lofty contract, and he's not shown that he's been able to hold down the fort. If they did, there would have been no rumors of the Carolina Panthers going to Deshaun Watson the entire offseason. The Seattle Seahawks said they're going to remain interested. They're going to remain interested in the whole Baker Mayfield possibly trying to attain him once he's released from the Cleveland Browns. Don't be surprised if a market really starts to heat up for him. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Hey, the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
They could be in that equation. If you really think about it, I mean, Tannehill is playing on this, I guess, make it or break it season this year because of what happened last year in the playoffs and stuff like that. He's been close, but he's been lackluster, made some crazy mistakes. You got Malik Willis here, but he's still raw, right? Many we believe that he's still raw, probably several years away. We need someone to kind of gap that up, and maybe Baker Mayfield is going to possibly be an option if he's released for the Tennessee Titans. You never know.
Yeah, and we'll see kind of how patient Cleveland ended up staying. Do they give him away for nothing? I think that's the whole reason why they're waiting, is because right now teams are saying, we're going to be doing you a favor by taking Baker Mayfield off your roster because it is a distraction. And like it or not, Cleveland has made it a distraction. They didn't have to kind of go out in the media and say some of the things that they've said about Baker Mayfield. I know he's not a perfect character in the eyes of specifically Colin Cowherd necessarily, but I don't think they've handled the situation as perfectly as they could. But it's a quarterback situation, and for Cleveland, you got to almost feel bad for the fans because right now, that team right now is built to win now with Deshaun Watson and some of the players that they've gone around him. Nick Chubb, we know the running back lifespan. It doesn't get any younger as seasons go by. So if you were to just kind of waste a year of a Nick Chubb who might get 2,000 yards this season, especially with the extra couple of games added on, you just wonder, does Deshaun Watson fight this year-long suspension if he does end up getting it, or does he just take it? We've seen specifically Tom Brady got his suspension. He fought it a little bit, got it cut in half. I don't know if Deshaun Watson will go that same route or not, but I think it's worth exploring whether or not you try and fight this year-long suspension if you do end up getting it. If you can get it cut down to 6 games, it's a lot better than a full season.
Yeah, but if they get 6 games, can you imagine the outlash is going to happen from NFL pundits, reporters, what have you, fans? Like I just stated earlier in the show about how if you step on someone's helmet or you do something crazy to an NFL player, you get suspended for 4 or 5 games. That's or a couple games based off default. You're telling me with the accusations that he had 24 cases, 20 of them he's already settled, and you only get 6 games? Much like Ben Roethlisberger got his 6-game suspension back in the early mid-2000s, what have you. It just is not a good look. So if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm like, you know what? Let's just put this behind us. I'll take the year suspension. Come back to this a year from now, and let's play ball. Because there would be nothing else for him to say. Be like, look, I went through my situation. I went through the cases. I've addressed them. I was able to put that behind me. I took a year on suspension with the NFL. I've done my time, whatever. Of course, will he be apologetic again? Sure, what have you. But he's probably going to remain guilty. Say he's guilty because that's what he's been this entire. He's remained his innocence this entire. So it's weird, but I think he should just walk away. Just like, let me take the year suspension and not fight it.
Yeah, Tuesday is when that kind of hearing will begin.
Yeah.
Sue L. Robinson is at the head of that investigation, and I think there's a pretty good chance by this time next week we will have an answer on the Deshaun Watson suspension, on how long it is going to end up being, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there, because I think whether we like it or not, even if the suspension isn't a year long, this is going to affect Deshaun in any sense. I think because the court of public opinion isn't necessarily on the side of Deshaun Watson right now. With all the details and all the reports and all the stories coming out, it's graphic stuff. And if this stuff is true at any sense for Deshaun Watson, he looks terrible in this light. And I think teammates are going to look at him in a certain light. I think there's stuff to be talked about with that. So we'll see kind of where that goes and where the Deshaun Watson story goes. But I think one thing we can agree on, it's finally time to put it to a close, because we've been talking about this literally for a year now, and we're really we don't have full kind of firm kind of sense on where this is going to end up going. So I think for the NFL to finally get this closed up, it's best for all parties. It's best for the Browns. It's best for Deshaun Watson. And it's just best for the NFL, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how the Browns have been handling this entire situation, since the trade has happened for Deshaun Watson, they've been probably the most talked about NFL team in the entire NFL this offseason. Outside of what happened with the AFC West, but making it like they made themselves a powerhouse division. But you have to ask yourself, is this the reason why Baker Mayfield has not been traded?
Yeah.
Because they can see this coming down the road. Maybe we need to see, we could try to save face here, because you have the number 3 quarterback who's had a great minicamp, OTAs, has moved himself into the number 2 role and possibly even the starting role of Jacoby Brissett. I don't know. Maybe they're kind of reluctant to trade Baker Mayfield because they're going to see if they can get something out of him. Well, now the NFL team's like, you know what? You can't, because we know you've already played your hand. You can't keep your cards close to your chest now because of the fact that you put yourself in a situation by trading for Deshaun Watson, offering him a fully guaranteed $240 million contract. Yeah. So go ahead and do what you need to do, release him because you need him off the books, and play Jacoby Brissett. Take this year. Yes. And if you look at what this AFC conference, had they got Deshaun Watson and they already signed Amari Cooper in the offseason, I thought they were one of the teams that were one of the more improved teams in the AFC. So now that Deshaun Watson not being there, because I felt like the AFC North was up for grabs. I think the only one they would probably, but we know Baker Mayfield and the Browns have had, they've had the advantage over the Bengals over the last few years in terms of divisional play. Steelers, I mean, I believe the Steelers have the youngest, like in terms of salary-wise, offensive players in the NFL. And then you look at the
That's
Ravens.
usually not a recipe.
No, it's not. It's not at all. And then you look at the
Except
Ravens.
if you're Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
So then you look at the Ravens. The Ravens like, okay, we just went ahead and traded Hollywood Brown to go play with his boy Kyler Murray down in Arizona. And we all heard that Lamar Jackson was not happy about it. He tweeted about it. Yep. I don't know who tweets better, Lamar Jackson or John Morant, because they feel like they both do the same thing. Like they give him such great entertainment. So, but they speak their mind.
Yeah. Yes,
he has Mark Andrews. But in terms of wide receiver help, I don't know who could supplant or help him with that situation. Yes, you get J.K. Dobbins back, who you lost last year. Gus Edwards will possibly be back as well. You start to go back into that running focus type offense. But has the Ravens really improved? Not really. So I really felt outside of the Bengals, the division was up to grabs, and I felt that the Cleveland Browns had enough ammunition, enough weapons on both sides of the ball, offensive and defensively, to challenge for the division.
And it's unfortunate that Cleveland doesn't have a firm answer. I think the NFL, I get wanting to wait for everything, but you've left a whole team and a whole city pretty much high and dry right now. You don't know what, if you're a Cleveland Brown fan, what's going to end up happening. And I think it's unfair for them going through free agency and stuff like that. They didn't know whether to go for it or not. You don't know whether to spin big on free agents if you know you're not going to have your starting quarterback out there for possibly the entire season. So we'll see what ends up happening there. If you got an opinion on it, you want to give us a call, do it 615-844-5600. Talk a little NFL, NBA, Kyrie Irving. That's a situation we'll be talking about a little bit later, as well as Freddie Freeman, who had his come home farewell tour, if you will, or not, this past weekend in Atlanta. But before we send it to a break, I want to tell you about my friends over at Smiles by Design. Dr. Dwayne Jones, the lead dentist over there, have been going to him for about 2 years now. Have gone to him for a few different services, teeth cleaning, cavity filling, stuff like that, your usual dentist needs. Go to him there. One thing you really need to know about the cavity fillings, he has state-of-the-art technology that allows him to do needle-free cavity fillings. You don't have to numb up via needles and stuff like that. It is completely easy. I was in and out of there, and the best thing, you get to go and have lunch right after. You can go and eat immediately after getting the cavity filling. So stuff like that is really what sets Dr. Dwayne Jones apart from the competition. Where are they located? In Smyrna at 105 Industrial Boulevard, Unit 1001. If you got any more questions, you can visit their website at drdwaynejones.com, or you can call them at 615-355-1033. Once again, that number, 615-355-1033. When we come back, Kyrie Irving, that situation is not simmering down. Is he headed elsewhere other than Brooklyn? We'll discuss it next. Run with it on Nashville Sports Radio, 615-844-5600.
Hayes Nissan of Rivergate is not the only choice when it comes to buying, selling, or trading your vehicle, but it is the best choice. Located at 1550 Gallatin Pike North in Madison, Hayes Nissan of Rivergate has been serving the Middle Tennessee community for over 3 decades. That gives you confidence that Hayes Nissan of Rivergate can find the perfect vehicle for your lifestyle and your budget. And their friendly and knowledgeable staff will make sure you are in the right hands. If you're feeling rugged, check out their brand new Titans. Or you might be feeling sporty and want to check out the all-new Maximus. And don't forget about their award-winning parts, service, and body shop. They have everything you need to get you back on the road. Go visit them on the web at nissanofrivergate.com, where they are open 24/7 or in person at 1550 Gallatin Pike North in Madison. Or if you want to give them a call, it's easy at 615-865-7220. Again, that number is 615-865-7220. That's Hayes Nissan of Rivergate, where your dollar always goes farther.
Hey Nashville, Ray here. Many of us suffer from anxiety when going to the dentist. You guys need to check out my friends over at Bite Dentistry, where Dr. Lewis and her team are amazing. Bite Dentistry is where my family goes for all of our dental care. Their mission is to help patients breathe better, smile bigger, and live longer by offering a comprehensive selection of services and total dental care for every member of your family. Bite Dentistry is the only dentist in town trained and certified